All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It's apparently early morning, so thank you so much for coming along. And I never knew there was also some introductory music as well, which is great. Very Can vibe. So yeah, my name's Ahmed. I'm one of the co-founders at Bioconomy, and today I'll be talking about orchestration and why it's the missing layer for one-click Ethereum. So let's start off. So really the first question, and I just want to sort of jump into it, is what if Ethereum felt something like this, where I could just connect to my wallet, I see some USDC, that I have some USDC and I want to earn some yield on it. And why can't I just do it like in one click? So here, as a user, let me just go back a bit. I have a position. I have some USDC on Arbitrum. There's a small flow pool on Base, and the balance. Well, I need to supply WETH, and here I'm trying to sort of like supply 6 USDC. I go ahead and sign it, and essentially what happens in the background is the full orchestration flow of how the 6 USDC will end up as WETH to the Morpho pool on Base. So I started off from USDC on Arbitrum, ended up on a pool on Base with WETH, and that's yielding 8%. And I'm gonna this is just one example. I'm gonna show like actual live implementations of this, but I just wanted to sort of you guys to get the initial feel and idea of what we're doing. Why does Ethereum need this now? So we're seeing a huge amount and proliferation of L2s, many different types of awesome applications. We're seeing yield opportunities everywhere. Robinhood chain came out. There's a bunch of things that users could do on chain. We're going to be seeing TradFi coming on chain, and there is going to be some fragmentation in terms of liquidity, in terms of UX, and how users could easily go across different chains and do different things. And when we sort of look at the reality between what users want and what they are doing today, a user just wants to single click do something. They want to always find the highest yield. They want to use assets from different chains to do something elsewhere. They want to pay gas in any token. But what users actually do in the case of let's say they're trying to find the highest yield, I'm sure you could tell there's a lot, right? There's so much that they've got to do, and it becomes like nearly a full-time job. And then what about the developer challenge? When developers come in and they want to build really awesome things in the space, what they want to build are one-click DeFi strategies, enable seamless cross-chain experiences, and ultimately build just really good consumer-grade apps. But what they actually do is, they are inundated with so much of the build when it comes to audits, when it comes to deploying on different chains, handling, cross-chain messaging if they wanted to, work across chains as well. I think there's, at least when we work with different apps, we see that they literally have to implement multiple APIs, and there's a lot, right? And so we're kind of seeing a lot of challenges between sort of the developers and the users. And this is where orchestration comes in. What we mean by it, and the definition, is essentially the coordination and composing of multiple blockchain operations as a single flow. And what we mean by that is it's represented by scripts that behave like smart contracts. These are essentially written in TypeScript for single chain or multi-chain operations. And it basically means like developers don't have to write Solidity to actually enable blockchain workflows or enable new types of apps. And this means orchestration is really at the application layer. It's for application developers. So when we look at sort of before and after orchestration, an app developer would typically have to integrate different endpoints of different chains. Of course, some EVM chains are very similar, but different EVM chains, they'd have to work around it. And there's maintenance all the time when they're working with different chains. But when it comes to sort of orchestration, what we've realized and what we've seen is that typically it's just one endpoint to work with all chains across the whole EVM stack. And what's really cool, we've done account abstraction for a long time at Bioeconomy. And so we've seen this firsthand. We've seen the case where a developer, if they wanted to support 2 or 3 chains, they would need to basically have API keys for paymasters on different chains and bundlers on different chains. And this is, I would say it's, still quite complex, right? But with orchestration, what we're seeing is that no matter how many chains you're working with, you just need one API key or just literally one endpoint, right, to interact. And so we're seeing, this ease of use from a developer standpoint to become, really, really easy as we move forward. So this is the most exciting part of the, I'd say, presentation. I want to show you live apps, right, like real life orchestration happening. So last night when I was doing this presentation, I basically, went on Aave. I supplied 25 USDT. And I'm very excited to announce that we're working with Venus Protocol. Venus Protocol is a lending protocol on BNB chain. And they're working with us to enable one-click migration of assets or of positions particularly, or we like to call them in DeFi vampire flows, right? I was just speaking to someone and he said, no, this might be customer acquisition. That's probably a better way to define it. And you'll see why. So Venus knows that after I've connected my wallet, I actually have 25 USDT, right, that I've already supplied on Aave. And what they're telling me is that, hey, the current APY is 1.55% on Aave, but if you bring your position to Venus, we'll give you a higher APY. All right, so let me go ahead and do it. And I could see here gas is free as well. Go ahead, click import. Let's hope this works. It's a live demo, I know. All right, it's confirming the transaction, and I think we're good to go. So yeah, it worked. As simple as that. So as like what happened in this transaction, the orchestration flow, and in this case especially, it was a composable batch execution where on BNB chain the user literally unwinded the position on Aave and approved the supply on Venus and then actually supplied on Venus. So there was multiple instructions as a composable batch. And because Venus, they were sponsoring the transaction, even with orchestration, what's really cool, cross-chain gas becomes super simple, right? They paid gas using USDC on Base, right? That's up to them. They could easily just use USDC on Optimism if they want to pay gas for this operation. They just happen to have the gas tank on Base. So, but imagine like users paying gas elsewhere, to do transactions on a different chain. So this is a very simple single chain orchestration flow that is, I'd say, live right now with Venus, which is pretty cool. So I would imagine nearly every lending protocol, every DEX, every protocol that has some form of TVL would have something like this. Now, let's go on to something a bit more complex. So we're working with Askgina. They were one of our first integrators. And they are essentially ChatGPT with crypto, right? But the AI is really awesome. It works. And so, yeah, really hope it works today. So let me sort of see let me show you guys one example of what I want to do. So I'm just going to type a prompt. Give me just a couple of seconds. Let's say, I'd say look, bridge USDT from the BNB chain to Arbitrum to buy ARB. Why not? Because they've got Robinhood, so it might be a good idea to get more ARB. And also bridge. Actually, no, let me be a bit more specific. Swap 10 USDC from OP to buy ARB on Arbitrum. All right. This has been working, but Archina has also had a lot of traffic the past couple of days, so sometimes it's the Anthropic credits have, have just, been exhausted. So yeah, I think it should be working now. So here, at least from the Archina case, what it does is it basically lets, the AI basically constructs the call data. It first looks at the balances, constructs the call data, after understanding my prompt and what I want to do. And so yeah, that was actually very quick. It fully understood what I wanted to do. As you could see, I'm bridging X amount of USDT, and also swapping 10 USDC from Optimism to ARB. And now this is where orchestration will be coming in. This part might just take, all right. So yeah, I'm just getting a transaction summary from the call data, and now the execution is going to happen. So let's just give it one moment. All right, awesome. All right, 2 live demos that worked without no problems. So as you guys could see, like the full transaction or the prompt that I basically asked for did work. And as you could see here, few transaction details. You could check out the Explorer. And what's really cool is that gas was paid on base to execute these operations on Optimism and BNB chain, right? Very simple. Very easy, no need to really think and, well, at least for the AI, it didn't need to think about the RPCs, the different chains, gas. It was just very, very simple. So yeah, so like these are literally like live, applications using orchestration as we speak. All right, so let's see how long, all right, perfect. So just one very quick thing that I wanted to get into, which is what's one of the game changers of orchestration. So one of the biggest developer challenges that we've seen is if a developer wanted to enable a swap and deposit flow. The biggest problem is that when the user swaps, you don't really know as a developer how much they will actually get and receive after the swap due to slippage and on-chain conditions. And so you can't really have an exact sort of like data to then put into the function call for the stake position. And so, yeah, and so like this happens right now, this happens across this, for all developers. And so this can easily result in like high failure rates. But what we've realized and what we've seen in orchestration is that we are able to runtime use sort of the exact output amounts to be used as inputs for the next transaction. And so like these real-time values are injected at execution, at runtime. And this we're seeing is a really huge game changer, especially at the developer level. And so, when we sort of look at the business impact and what it means is, there's reduced failed transactions. The UX becomes just way better because like we literally reduce sort of the failure rates due to this. We could optimize capital efficiency because, we're using exact outputs as inputs. And then, of course, the developer freedom that exists when you're able to create more and more sophisticated flows. One other really cool thing about orchestration is that it works with all wallets. So EOAs without 7702, EOAs with 7702, smart accounts. And so like the first, the first video I showed you guys and the Venus application used EOAs without 7702. How? That's a topic for a separate presentation. However, with Archina, that used EOAs with 7702. They used Privy, and with excuse me, and with Privy, they basically delegated to our Nexus Smart account, which basically did the orchestration. And we're also working with other partners who are smart account first, and they could easily enable orchestration out of the box. And so why is this really important? Because now developers can access all users, right? Whereas before the account abstraction, there was this really big problem with having to deposit into a smart account wallet and whatnot. Developers could use tools they're familiar with, and wallet friction now does not exist, which is really cool. And so just to sort of come back and sort of to really see overall what this enables, what orchestration enables. For users, it's one-click operations, cross-chain gas, invisible UX. For developers, they could write TypeScript instead of Solidity. So all the flows that you guys saw was used really just by using front-end code and TypeScript, which is really cool. And this also means that developers could iterate without contract deployments and have access to all users. Ultimately, for Ethereum, we're introducing real composability. We're making Ethereum feel like one. Given sort of the nature of not having to write and no Solidity, there's just way more access to developers for Ethereum, which is really cool. What orchestration is not, this is important because you'll see that there is some bridging involved and whatnot, but it's very important to know that we're not a bridge. We use existing bridges, we use existing solutions. Orchestration doesn't mean there is a new L1 or L2. It works with all chains. Orchestration is not account abstraction. We like to say account abstraction is a subset of orchestration because it enables all the really cool benefits that account abstraction enables. And orchestration is not intense. It supports intents with an additional layer of functionality. And ultimately, we're seeing that orchestration serves developers and users. Why? Because of this flywheel of better DevX, better UX, better feedback, and faster iteration. And for us, this is, we've been a company that has been focused on developers, and this has been a really important, I'd say, a really important step for us moving forward. And so when we look at who are the adopters of this and sort of, examples of what real life use cases would look like. You guys saw some of the real demos, but just to give a high level of what we're seeing people, at least the integrations that we're seeing happening before they go live. We're seeing sort of developers enable better yield strategies. We're seeing developers use scheduled transactions with orchestration. With the AI, of course, we can now get to a closer, I'd say, to a closer position of getting to autonomous agents. And now that AI could just, not have to worry about the execution layer because orchestration handles the execution layer. And then when it comes to Web 2 and fintechs, what's really awesome is that the ease of accessibility to do stuff on chain without having to think about all the complexities it brings. And of course, crypto payments across any chain is something that we're seeing fintechs increasingly ask for. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I have a minute left, but just high level. When I say orchestration in practice, for this we believe is going to be something really big in the next 6 months. And for us at Bioconomy, we like to call our orchestration layer a modular execution environment because that is sort of an execution environment, that we built it in a certain way. For us, we've enabled this primitive called super transactions that enables these complex flows. It's live in production today, and we essentially have a lot of ecosystem partners where we use a few of these partners under the hood to enable orchestration, as you guys could see. And ultimately, for us, really, the vision is threefold. We want to make every action a single signature, no matter how many chains it spans. Users can unlock and access all their assets without all these blockchain complexities. And the third is, I think, a really big deal, is enable non-contract devs to write as much as they can, hopefully more than 90% of the application code. And so, yeah, we are all, I'd say, bullish on Ethereum. It has amazing infrastructure, and we believe it could be even more amazing with orchestration. All right, well, thanks so much. I think we've just finished. I don't know if there's Q&A time or... No, if you have some question, you can stay there. Okay. Cool. All right, well, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining.